For those who are interested, how I was able or allowed to find the timeline. I was in the car, I was driving. I just finished listening to my Bible for the very first time, and I started over again in Genesis, and I was listening to the creation story, and I realized when I listened to the creation of Adam and Eve, I remembered an old joke that I heard that said Adam was created in the afternoon because it was right before Eve. I thought it's plausible because during the night God did not create, He created during the day. So the animals were created in the morning, I think, on day 6. Then Adam was created as the crown of God's creation. Then Adam had to name all the animals, and then he needed to realize that he was alone, and then Eve was created. So the afternoon of day 6 sounds plausible, and I realized that on the timeline, the afternoon of day 6 during the day is the same period in time as the afternoon of day 6 during a week of 7 days. So I made a chart, and I got the insight for corresponding timelines, as you can see in the screen. And the afternoon of day 6 seems to be an epicenter in the timelines in many biblical stories. We have day 6 of creation week, the 24 hours of the crucifixion day, from nightfall to nightfall, where we see the 3 dark hours as the marked block. In the life of Jacob, it is the absence of Joseph, so I think that's the time of Jacob's trouble. And on a 7,000 year history of the earth, we see that we are living in that particular block now. So I zoom in on the 7,000 years, and as I said in the beginning of the video, the flood was after 1656 years. We take the famous time times and half a time from Daniel and Revelation, and I know this is often interpreted as years, but it says time, so why not take the time of the flood, multiply by 3.5 and get the number 5,796, which points to our modern time and the epicenter of the timelines. So I had this insight, and I tried to write it down, hoping to be able to explain it to someone who could use this as a part of the puzzle. And I was wondering where can I place this in time, and I remembered that I had seen Kent Hovind's End Time timeline, the What on Earth series timeline, where he showed the 70th week of Daniel and the 1040 days of God's wrath, and he has the rapture at the end of the 70th week. So I looked at this 1260 plus 1260 plus 1040 days, and I got an insight about the life of Enoch, because Enoch was the first person to get raptured, and he lived for 365 years, and from there it was 669 years to the flood. So the ratio is kind of the same as 1260 2300. So we have to shift Hovind's rapture from the end of the 70th week to the midst of the 70th week. So I was looking at this chart, and I thought, where can I place this? And I just decided to use symmetry. I looked at the 2300 days, and I thought, can I make another 2300? So we have a mirror with the 1260 in the middle. And I divided 2300 days by the duration of a synodic month, and I got 77.88 synodic months. And 77.88 is an interesting number in relation to the rebirth of Israel. Psalm 90:10 a generation is 70 or 80 years. I believe it's longer. I believe we have a range of 120. But 70 to 80 years, 77.88 is very interesting. So instead of 77.88 rotations of the moon around the Earth a month, I took 77.88 rotations of the Earth or the moon around the Sun. I started counting at the rebirth of Israel on 14 May 1948 and arrived at Passover 2026 on 31 March. Passover is great because according to Daniel 9:26, the 62 weeks end and the Messiah gets cut off, killed, and we know this was at Passover. So what's a better feast to start the 70th week than the feast where the 69th week ended. So from the start of Passover 2026, it is 1260 days to 10 September 2029, and this happens to be Rosh Hashanah, the new year, the Feast of Trumpets, and for many people it is the most important watch date every year. So I got my ratios and rapture on the Feast of Trumpets, and from there I counted 2300 days, and I got the third day of Hanukkah, the Feast of Light, where the return of Jesus, the return of the light of the world is expected according to Hovind's timeline and my own interpretations. This day, 28 December 2035, is 27 Kislev of the year 5796, where 27 is 3 to the power of 3, 3 times 3 times 3. Kislev is the third month after the Feast of Trumpets, so the third month of the year, 27-3. And 5796, when we add the numbers 5 plus 7 plus 9 plus 6, we get 27 again. So the return date is 27-3-27. And then 222 days later, we have 4 August 2035. This is the end of Tisha B'Av, the day destined for disaster and a mourning day in Jewish tradition. And I believe this is the original end date, because we arrived there when we add 2 times 1260 days after the Feast of Trumpets 2029. And I believe, this is the date where the time gets shortened to December 2035. I think the 220 days are also a nice reference to Matthew 24:22, 222, where this the shortened time gets mentioned. And in addition, I found this 2-3 years later than the basic of the timeline. When we count from the rapture date, I believe this is also the date of the abomination of desolation in the midst of the 70th week. When we count 1290 and 1335 days from Daniel 12, 11 and 12, we get Passover 2033 in the exact middle between 1290 and 1335. So in the exact middle there's Passover 2033. This is 7 years after Passover 2026. It is the 2000th Passover since the crucifixion. And there happens to be a blood moon over Jerusalem on that day. I don't know what is going to happen. Maybe it's a rapture of Israel. It seems to be the start of God's wrath. According to Hovind's timeline, it is the start of the day of the Lord, or that on Hovind's timeline it is 22.5 days earlier. But the funny thing is, the midst of the period between 1290 and 1335 is 1312.5, and this is 1260 days and 1260 hours. So No man knows the day nor the hour. I don't have all the knowledge. All the numbers seem to line up. Just like the numbers that I showed in the video that are related to the comet. I keep sharing this message. I hope you liked it, and I see you in the next video.